So I just, and I can share my screen now.
Do you want to just make sure that it works?
Yeah, I'll just check
It
right now.
should. Awesome. Awesome. Okay, so just a very quick introduction. Mark Shannon is going to be presenting this morning. He's a senior consultant with Merchant Cost Consulting. MCC is a new allied member, and they are a cost reduction firm focused on identifying cost saving opportunities. And who doesn't love a cost saving opportunity? They review credit card processing fees and other recurring operating expenses to determine whether your current costs still reflect today's market pricing and where there may be some savings available to you. So most importantly, they do this without any change or operational disruption. So I think it's sort of like a no-brainer, but I will let Mark jump right in and explain to you how this works and what MCC would be able to do for you.
Excellent. Thanks for the intro, Nikki. Appreciate you guys and everyone's time. I will definitely be cognizant of that. So I'll make it quick, educational, and obviously any questions at the end as well. I like to get right in and obviously introduce who we are, how we help members. We're actually a cost reduction firm, like Nikki said, focused on reducing costs without switching. And we started in the industry, gained a lot of knowledge from credit card processing company, and we found that there's room for improvement and advocating for businesses, that because we speak that language. It's something that we see every single day, and we started this company to do that. So without any waiting, I'll get right into it. So our objectives, we just identify, in this case, hospital. I work with hospitals as well, so it says hospitals, but hospitality groups, hotels are being overcharged. So we see that there's a lot of overcharges, around 10 to 30% in savings opportunities. And these are just your everyday operational costs, things that you've already been billed for that are in the past. So obviously, the start of March, you're getting bills now that have already been occurred for February. These are the things that we look at, and we want to make sure that everything that we have data wise reflects that market price. So we just understand how to protect those savings long term through ongoing monitoring. And these are the areas that we typically look at. One of them is the most prominent, and we find the most opportunity is credit card processing fees, waste and recycling, telecom, utilities, payroll, linen, laundry, uniform services, insurance, SaaS, software subscriptions, IT, managed services, food and beverage supply contracts, equipment leasing, and treasury and bank fees. We were founded in 2017, based in Boston, Massachusetts. As mentioned, we work for a large processing company known as iPayment, now known as PaySafe. And we just found that there was a lot of opportunities where we can help advocate for businesses, because we were taught one way how to sell processing. And then we found that over time, processing companies typically overcharge and then also incrementally increase pricing over time. To the naked eye, it just looks like a bill. We find that the when they do these things, when they charge consistently every single month, they're slowly and, like I said, incrementally increasing that cost. When you sign up for any service, obviously it's a long document. It's an application process, and in these application processes, there's fine print. We all know that in these fine prints with credit card processing companies, it says bank rates are subject to change very often. Um, so we're independent cost reduction firm. We're not a processing company. We're industry insiders. We know the ins and outs. We speak the language, and we're focused exclusively on helping clients renegotiate and optimize vendor costs. We partnered with multiple associations in the hospitality, healthcare networks, nationwide, so US, Canada, and then we just educate members on sustainable savings. Um, So here's what we do, and here's a kind of a visual for everyone to understand our workflow, our process, and what we do. So we help, it says hospitals again, but hospitality groups reduce operating costs in the credit card processing, telecom, waste, utilities. Our biggest thing is no switching, no new systems, no disruption. We negotiate directly with your existing vendors and share in the savings only that what we find and that are verified. If we don't find anything and you don't approve it, there's no cost to what we do. We're strictly cost reduction. We're strictly performance based. Um, I'll let you guys take a look at this visual and understand that process. First thing we do is review. We take a look at your current status. In this case, for credit card processing, your most recent merchant statement, understanding that some businesses are seasonal, especially with hotels, it could be seasonal. Um, we would request more than 1 month. We're usually 3 to 6 months to understand the payment landscape, the different card blends, and what cards come through that business. So we benchmark it. We evaluate where you're at on that statement. Then what we do is we negotiate on your behalf with your existing vendor, given your approval. Um, and then we do that with a one-page engagement letter, which allows us to negotiate on your behalf. And then once something is proposed to you from your vendor after we negotiate, what we do is it's your approval. So if the numbers don't work, it's at your discretion. Um, that's the realizing part. And then what we do, and I think the biggest component of what we do is audit, monitor that account. We police that account every single month, and to make sure that what we negotiated and what we put in place stays in place. These things increase over time, mostly on a monthly or quarterly basis. And this is where we really catch them with their hands in the cookie jar, so to speak. Um, so in the payments industry, the the billing industry is largely unregulated. I think everyone knows this. It's gone through Congress with multiple meetings in regards to, overcharging, price gouging. It's definitely something we see all the time. Rates do increase, and like I said, quarterly, 2 to 3 times a year through hidden markups and confusing statements. Even large institutions miss reoccurring overcharges buried in line items. Now, these line items have different names, and I'll show you in some visuals after this. But most notably, convenience fee. There's nothing convenient about a fee. They do it. Then it comes to a discount rate. Any rate is a rate. It's not discounted whatsoever. They just use this jargon to not confuse you, but misguide you to think that you're getting a deal. So another here's another slide with kind of more of a brief understanding of the payments industry, how it works. So card brands pass the fees on to the processors. Those are the processors, are the companies that are actually taking that physical transaction or online transaction and adding a markup. So they're the middleman, and they pass those fees on to the merchants, obviously the businesses. When it comes to different structures, there's structures that are based on industry type. So in hotels and hospitality, the most cost effective is always going to be interchange plus pricing. Right here, though, tiered pricing, it just cards downgrade to what's called a mid qualified or non qualified, and they carry surcharges. So they put you into a bucket depending on the card type, and they'll mark that up. When it comes to interchange, like I said, is the most competitive. It's defined as a wholesale price, and it's charged by Visa, MasterCard, Discover, and Amex. There's over 700 different interchange rates. We learn these things every single day. So we're seeing new interchange rates come in. Uh, it's hard to decipher, which one is which. But that's something that we explore every single day with the data we receive and the statements we see. We're checking every single line item with a fine tooth comb, with a microscope to make sure that this is the pricing that this card should typically be. There's things that are negotiable, and then there's things that are non-negotiable, things that can be reduced and can't be reduced. We know what those are. If anyone looks at a merchant statement and doesn't understand, obviously it's going to be a totally different language, something that we've learned over the years, and we use that obviously in our expertise to advocate. So, what should I be paying all in? Effective rate or total cost of processing is your total fees and then divided by the total sales volume. And that should be in the ballpark of 2.25, 2.5%, depending on a few different factors. Obviously, uh, like I said, there's a different landscape to every type of business. It could vary based on, are these transactions coming in face to face? Are they physical swipes or are they online through a third party vendor? Things like that. If you're paying more than that, chances are there are inefficiencies or discrepancies in the current pricing. And here's another slide on the savings on fees. So the markups from the processes I mentioned, discount rate per transaction fees, no one knows what technically the buy rate is for these processing companies. So on these rates and transaction fees, they'll do their markup. The same way any business has a physical product and they mark things up when they're reselling it. There's monthly and annual fees. Some of these are avoidable, some are unavoidable. Interchange rates, address verification system, like anyone when you go shop online. You use your card, you put your information in, and AVS is the address verification to make sure that the billing location matches up with the card information. It's just another added security. They charge for that. Batch settlement. After all your day of transactions, what happens is at the end of the day, they treat that batching as a transaction. They charge you for that too. Debit card payments. Obviously, those are debit cards, and it costs less when a card is swiped with a PIN number, opposed to a card being inserted with no PIN number. It's all associated with risk. The higher the risk, the higher the rate. The lower the risk, the lower the rate. Debit card transactions are typically lower because they're tied with a debit card, which is tied in with a checking account. And the debit card wouldn't work if there was no money in that checking account. Credit cards are a different story because we don't know what someone owes on it, what the balance is. It's kind of up in the air. That's a higher rate because the processing companies don't know exactly the situation. As I mentioned, manual entry. Manual entry is when it's keyed in over the phone, whether it be online, that has a higher cost. And then versus swiped. Swiped is a physical swipe, and that is actually a lower transaction rate. This is all things that we've learned along the way. It might seem new to you or bits and pieces, but this is something we see every single day. So I'm sure some people are familiar with chargebacks here. Um, Business name that appears on the card charge. Some people see something they don't recognize, they call right away, and next thing you know, you guys are on the hook for a $25, $50 chargeback. But not only that, the whole amount of that transaction. So there's things in the terms and conditions. Like I said, the bank rates are subject to change. Those are in there as well. Card authorization to avoid fraud. As I mentioned, AVS, which is the address verification service, and a photo ID. I remember back in the day, you use a credit card, you have to have an ID to back that up. That's secure. They're also provide invoices. So when you get your bill, sometimes these merchant companies won't send it directly to you. They'll send it, whether it be physical mail or intentionally send it to the spam inbox. So we see this often as well. PCI compliance, PCI compliance, the payment card industry. It's basically you get a survey, an assessment, a questionnaire on how you're taking payments. Are you taking it within compliance? You're not writing down information on the desk, on a notepad where a regular customer can see this information. So they're just making sure that you're doing this correctly. That's a service we also provide to take that off your shoulders. Um, Storing credit card information safely and securely. A lot of these softwares now have the tokenization and gateways and basically firewalls to protect that information. The merchant category code is in place to basically put the industry that you're in a bucket to make sure that you're priced correctly. Sometimes if you provide that you're a hotel and you do something else, whether it be another service, and you're going to be priced differently than another different business. So like a restaurant's going to be priced differently, and it's all because of the card blends. Here's just some examples of understanding these fees and how complex they truly are. So you'll see in this first red line item that these are marked above actual cost. How do we know that? We know that the VS, which is a Visa Rewards One card, is typically lower than 1.7 and 15 cents per transaction. So every time you swipe, it says right here in the left column, two transactions for a total of $3,120 cost you $53.34. It should cost much less. So based off our information, we see that that should really cost like $40. Obviously, multiply that by how many transactions you guys typically see. That can be, a big win when it comes to reducing that cost. Same thing here below on the second red line, which is the 11 transactions for 29,450. We find that the Visa EIRF card is typically lower, and this is what we call padded pricing. This company here, this merchant processing company, is marking this up, uh, you know, 50, maybe a couple basis points, but they're overcharging you as well. So these are the discrepancies we typically see. And then these credits here below on the third and fourth line, these should be credits and not charges. Um, we notice this all the time. And then at the bottom, you'll see a discount expense for credits. When you call and you ask what the heck that is, they don't even know. So they make these things up all the time. And this is an actual statement we've received. Here's another example of a clerical error. Um, if you notice here on the highlighted area, on the second one, it says VI signature preferred CRP standard. There's no money that was processed in that column for sales total, but yet someone was charged $228.95. Um, that just doesn't make sense. These happen all the time. It's really, if you're looking at these things closely, you're being overcharged. And this is just not a one off. This is a statement that we see regularly. It could be $100, $200, could be $5, but it's still things that you're getting overcharged for. Here's another example of understanding the fees with inflated rates, negotiated rates, and then processor increases. So this is just an example of one client that we had where we found the inflated rates, we negotiated those, and then a couple months later they increased it right back up. So if you're not paying attention or if you do your own assessment, this happens every single month. If not, it's going to happen every other month or every 2 months. Let's see. So our case study, we did it with the Rosewood Hotel Group. It's a renowned international hotel management company, boasting a diverse portfolio of 41 hotels spanning over 19 countries. The portfolio contains 5 distinct brands under the Rosewood Hotel umbrella, each embodying its own modern and luxurious concept. This case study is specifically focused on 4 hotels: Rosewood Miramar, Rosewood DC, the Carlisle, and the Rosewood Sand Hill. And I'll explain the problem and the solutions that we found. And this will wrap up my presentation and open it up for any Q&A after this. So bear with me here. So the problem that they had was they relied on integrated payment processing to facilitate online and in-person transactions. Usually, mostly 99% of everyone has a point of sale system or something that's integrated with a payment processor. And while the integrated system helped the hotel group manage everything through a single vendor, the fees they paid seemed higher than expected based on the contract that they signed with the processor. So, like many hotels, Rosewood has over 30 merchant IDs for different locations and various aspects of the business. Obviously, you know, the little convenience stores within the places, the restaurants within these hotels. So it made for more difficult to track the monthly expenses associated with the payment processing. The solution was, they reached out to us directly in August of 2020. We are still working with them, and we performed an audit of the group's statements to identify those cost-saving opportunities. And what we did was negotiated directly with the processor on behalf of the Rosewood Hotel Group, and we conducted and still conduct the ongoing monitoring of the merchant IDs across each location. What you'll notice here, this is as of last year, but in total savings was $350,000. And the refund for the hidden charges that weren't part of the contract was 110,000. So this included, like I like I mentioned in the beginning, of the other areas of expense. Um, we found those by creating that relationship with the credit card processing fees first, and then advocating in different expense areas for Rosewood as well. So they didn't need to change vendors, no new equipment, no operational changes. They didn't have to teach their employees how to take payments differently. Everything stayed exactly the same. And the refunds to the Rosewood every 3 months for ongoing price increases that we've identified during that monthly process. So that's just one example of many of who we work with and how we help. And thought it was a great idea to jump on here, thanks to Nikki, um, to advocate for anyone that doesn't truly understand or might need help or just wants to get a better grasp on these situations. And typically, I open this up for any Q&A. So if you like a free analysis or want to take a look or have questions, I've created a QR code for your reference. And then anything on your end, I'd be happy to help answer, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Mark. I didn't realize that you worked with Rosewood. Obviously, the Carlisle is a member,
Yep.
and it is a gorgeous hotel. I'm certain their other properties are as well. Um, I don't, anyone who has a question, can drop the question in the chat, or you can use the QR code and reach out to Mark directly. Mark, we will be sending out a link to the recording of this, and we'll include your contact information as well with that. So if there are no questions, I just want to thank everyone for their time. And Mark, thank you so much for the valuable but succinct presentation. And I hope to see you in person soon. Thanks so much,
Excellent.
everyone.
Thank you very much.
Take care.